presentation for all members of the IEP team. We're hoping that our case managers, related service providers, psychologists, and administrators all take the time to view this important information. We'd like to take just a moment to introduce ourselves and what our position is in the district, how we support you. I'm Michelle Ballesteros, and I am the coordinator of special education, and I oversee and support mild to moderate programs.
Hi, I'm Audrey Butler, and I am a program specialist. I support the mild moderate program at the elementary level, and my partner is.
Hi, I'm Crystal Clark. I'm Audrey's partner in crime at work. We both share the elementary mild moderate caseload. I'm glad you're joining us today.
Hi, my name's John Faringa, and I'm a program specialist in the district working with the students who need behavioral support. Some of the sites that I support include Alessandro, the middle schools, the 2 ED programs, and then students that are out at non-public schools.
Hi, my name is Brian Wager. I work together with John supporting behavior in the district and specifically the high school ED programs and also those kids that are at that non-public school.
We're going to start with our 11 commitments. Today, we're going to focus on commitment number 1, always start with why. The reason we chose this commitment for this presentation is that as we go through the slides, you'll start to understand the why behind the suggested verbiage in the notes page for each of the components of the IEP.
Here's our vision and mission statement. It's our new one, and we're going to start with our vision. Our vision, I always like to look at the vision as where we're going, and it is to empower students to become future ready and positively impact the world. And our mission, I look at that as our how. How do we get to our vision? We will provide an equitable education for all students to be prepared for college and or a viable career path for a successful life.
Thank you, Audrey. And I wanted to ask Crystal a question this morning. Crystal, can you speak to the why as why we created this training?
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, the why behind the training is that there have been different practices in the past on how notes were to be taken. If you started 15 years ago like I did, brief was best. And your notes were really, really brief, maybe a paragraph. And so we want to get everybody on the same playing field where everybody understands the expectations and we're all acting in the same way when it comes to notes, because they really do help to defend the compliance of the IEP and to explain what happened in that IEP meeting, because sometimes the IEP itself doesn't speak to what actually occurred in the meeting and the amount of parent input that's received during the IEP meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian, would you share with our viewers what are some of the learning outcomes that we planned for this training, as well as how deep are we going to go into the creation of the IEP and that side of the compliance?
Well, I think we're primarily focusing on writing legally compliant notes and notes that really tell the story of the IEP, right? Every IEP has sort of a narrative arc that it follows. And I think it's really important for the notes, not only to hit the important legal points, but to tell that story of the IEP in a really clear and succinct way. So it's a balance, right? Between, just writing everything down that happens and sitting there, with a dictaphone in the basement after the meeting and just, dictating everything and getting a good succinct picture of what happened in the IEP. And it's important for the team members who are there when you review them in the end so that everybody knew what happened. But it's also especially important for any service providers or anybody who's looking at the IEP afterward to try and decipher what took place in the meeting, what requests were made, what discussions were had, so that they can go through and, if they need to pinpoint any particular request or whatever.
Absolutely. And I know as creators of this presentation, we were trying to strike a balance between maintaining a focus on writing legally compliant notes and then doing sidebars about, oh yeah, when you are completing this page and when you're covering this page, don't forget to do X, Y, and Z as process. So Brian, one more time, give us a blanket statement, a blanket waiver for us if we don't go fully into the procedural piece?
A lot of procedural items are going to come up, right? We're going to come up with a lot of items that trigger procedural questions and procedural concerns. The purpose of this training really is first and foremost to go through note taking and how to strategize for note taking. If procedural questions come up, direct those questions to your program specialist, look through the SELPA manual to find an answer to those questions. I know the team has been hard at work updating a lot of stuff in the SELPA manual, and your program specialists are good resources to go to. So again, we're trying to focus explicitly and specifically on note taking and how to develop those skills.
Thank you. Thank you. Can any of you share potential hiccups that could occur if the notes are not legally compliant? Maybe a specific example or what have you?
So I'll share. I know that there's times when there's information that is shared at the IEP and it's not in the notes. And then when a parent may come to the office and they may have a concern, and we go back and we look at the IEP and we look at the notes to see exactly what happened at the IEP. Teams share information with us, but it's not in the notes. And so that's one of the hiccups, is that, is making sure that you get the right information in there, not too much information, but getting the legally compliant information in there for us to move forward to support you and the families.
All right, so the purpose of note taking. I think this is an interesting conversation since everyone might have a different take on it. So what is your idea of note taking and what's the purpose of it?
So I think that the notes really help to detail the conversation and parent participation in the meeting. And it kind of helps to outline how things are progressing as you go through the IEP.
It also helps to document compliance with things that have to happen in the IEP, right? So those mandatory procedures like, did you present procedural safeguards? Were there questions about them? Were there questions about offer FAPE? All those things that have to be documented, the notes place is a good place to document those things.
I think it also further explains like the participation and making sure that you've gone through all of the pages of the IEP when you're documenting the information in the notes. You're documenting, in our district, we follow our IEP agenda, our collaborative IEP agenda, which goes through all of the pages. So the notes will help to show that we have actually gone through all of those forms.
Actual participation in the IEP by the team members who are required is so important, right? And there's not like a form in the IEP to say like who said what when. So the notes are really helpful to show that the parent actually had meaningful participation. Gen Ed teacher actually had meaningful participation. The notes is that, again, it's that narrative that really shows who participated and where, because that's an essential component, that participation element.
So everyone's mentioned some really good aspects of note taking, but I did have one question. So the IEP forms contain many of the elements that are discussed in an IEP. What specifically do you look for documenting in the notes?
So again, going back to what was shared previously, it really is to give more detail to the conversation and the flow of the meeting, and also to point out when parents have questions, how does and we'll get further into this, I won't spend too much time here, but like, how does the IEP team respond when a parent has a question? How do they respond to that request to meet that need? I did also want to add another purpose of note taking for me, if I'm the one who's writing the notes, I also think if this child was to move to another school district and parent has a copy of the IEP, but maybe the reports aren't available. And so the person that intercepts that IEP can refer to the notes and see what, as they were forming eligibility, and just putting little basics from any reports also is very, very helpful because it does tell the story.